quick PSA about Donald Ross tracks just in general. If you think about it, he was in the golden age of architects. So now you're back there in the 1920s. Just call it 1925 on average, right? And everyone talks about, the prolifery of courses that he did, like 300 plus. Do you think really that Donald Ross traveled around to 300 different golf courses and went on site and designed these places and shaped them and did all of that? The answer to that is unequivocally no, right? So he had a bunch of different assistants. And this is why, other than some of the themes like false fronts and the bunkering and the cross bunkering that you see at all the different Ross courses, they always have like little different nuances to them. Now, there are some similarities between all of them. There are some similarities between Oak Hill and here and some of the other ones. But like, if you're just filtering for Donald Ross courses, you're making a mistake.
At Mayo Experience.
This is the final word on the PGA Championship picks, bets, one and done. Keith Stewart from readtheline.com is live on the scene at Aronimink Country Club, Golf Club. Country Club or Golf Club? I always get those two confused.
It's a golf club, Pat, and I could say, around here, they like to say it's always sunny in Philadelphia, and as we're recording this, it is sunny and perfect in Philadelphia.
Now, the only weather that we're going to deal with for the week, it looks like, at least in the initial forecast that we've been seeing, is rain overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, but stopping before the guys actually hit the course. So it's firm and fast right now, as you've told me. How do you think that's going to affect Thursday?
First of all, that rain continues, the forecast continues to shrink and shrink over time. It was as high on maybe Monday as like 0.4 of an inch, like a half an inch, but now it's down to like less than 1/4 of an inch and a 30% chance. So, I mean, there's a high probability we don't see any rain here on Wednesday night, but if it does rain, it is not going to affect the playing surfaces whatsoever. This place is a brick right now, and it's going to play firm and fast. I cannot wait. The fairways, everything. I've played here a couple times, and it is a very, very nice golf experience. It's a great test. You use all the clubs in the bag. Doesn't matter what tee box you're playing from. It's a tough test, but it's a great test to golf. When I walked in here Monday, I was just blown away by the condition of this golf course. It looks absolutely perfect. Not like in an Augusta way, more like in just a normal Parkland golf course way. But man, oh man, congratulations to the membership and the team here. They have made some championship choices. And right now, with the weather and everything else, things are panning out. It's really nice to see.
When you say championship choices, what do you mean by that?
They haven't allowed anyone to play this golf course, Pat, except the players since November. So when the golf course closed in November for the season and for the winter, the membership decided that they would not play until the Tuesday after the PGA Championship, which, is almost into mid-May. And I live here in the Jersey area right across the river. So we're dealing with similar temperatures. Our golf course opens sometime in March to get you out there walking, carts, usually around April 1st. And then, you're playing a bunch of golf in April. This place, the only people playing here are guys like Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy. That's it.
And Scottie Scheffler all last week, too. Rory gets all this heat for flying in for the day, playing the course, and going home. Wasn't Scheffler there all last week?
Scheffler was, and he got here on Sunday. Patrick Reed was here a couple days. Keegan and JT. I mean, everyone's a large majority of the guys that have the capability to bounce in and out of town have been here and have seen the golf course. Because, quite frankly, these four majors, the schedule, I don't know, live, the whole thing, golf, the popularity has really heightened kind of the attention on all of these things. And with all the best players in the world only coming together for these four events, I think the guys are paying a little bit more attention. You can definitely feel a lot of focus, and it's different than it was maybe even 2-3 years ago when I was out here during majors. These guys are engaged, and you love to see it. And this theater, I mean, we'll get into it, but the golf course itself is really set up to have like a stadium style effect coming down the stretch. And it's going to be really, really loud and exciting, and hopefully it's entertaining to back all that up with a very close championship. And, Kerry Haig's been pretty good at that over the last couple of years.
Well, you mentioned it's going to be firm and fast, and even if we do get rain Wednesday night, it's unlikely to change that. The thing that stuck out to me about the weather report, and I've been writing about this in the newsletter, that's free, by the way. You can sub to it down in the description. You can find Keith's down there as well. All of my entire cheat sheet coming out on Wednesday with, if you hear it in the show, it'll be in there in jot note form. So don't tune out. Smash the like and sub to the channel if you're going to tune out before you do that. And leave me your winner down in the comment section. I'm curious to know which way people are leaning this week. But it is the temperature for me that really stuck out, that in the first 2 days right now, it's not projected to get over 65 degrees. So for anyone in America, they know what that means. For anyone who lives outside of America, I had to put it into the old Fahrenheit to Celsius monitor. And it's like 14 degrees at its peak, which is fine. But as you mentioned, it's going to get windy in the afternoon. In the mornings, it's going to be sub 50. It's going to be cold out there the first few days.
I guess so, Pat. I just don't feel like it's at the level of cold that like the LPGA would shut down the final round. It's just like it's going to be good golf weather, and it's also May in Philadelphia. So when the PGA made this move in 2023, we had the frost delay at Oak Hill. They were going to have some challenges. I mean, we've had some challenges with growing the rough. I mean, I know we're going to get into a bunch of different field notes of mine, but one real quick is that less than a month ago there was a frost delay up here, and that kind of stunted some of the rough growth. And when you have a snap freeze like that, and then all of a sudden it's like 65 or 70 degrees within the next few days or the days prior to that, you're going to see some of the rough become spotty. They definitely don't feel like they have the density or the length of the rough that was the target. So guys that miss the fairway, as long as they don't have a tree or they're not in a bunker, with a lip or a grass face in their way, they're definitely going to be able to hit the ball forward, and probably with some level of success.
Well, this kind of stood out to me was Rory's comments from Tuesday about what he's going to be doing off the tee. And he basically said, I'm just going to get as aggressive as possible. It really doesn't matter. There is no strategy on the tee besides just hit it as far as you can, kind of see what happens. And Michael Kim kind of followed that up on Twitter as well. Friend of the show, Michael Kim, shout out Michael Kim, that even the cross bunkers that are supposed to be preventing people from, maybe not going driver every time or laying up, he said, as long as you can carry it 285, you're going to clear the vast majority of these. So it's not even like you need super prodigious length in order to clear these bunkers, that far more than half the field is going to clear these bunkers. So how much of a premium, because you said the rough's not up as much, but everyone so far, be it Rory, Michael Kim, Matt Fitzpatrick, Scottie pointed this out, and it was the main thing that you said to me when we did the brief preview last week, is that these green complexes are so tough, being in quadrants, tons of undulation, that is there still a premium, do you think, on being in the fairway?
That's a great question. And the only reason that I'm pausing is because it's a little bit situational, but overall, the answer to your question is no. The blast it as far down there as you can. Holes like 2, 6, 7, 15 is straight away, but like more length there, the better. The further you can hit the golf ball off the tee, the more of an advantage it is. I mean, the second hole is a perfect example. Those guys are going to fly those cross bunkers. I mean, everyone's going nuts. There's 180 bunkers, Keith. 80% of them don't matter to these guys. They just don't. They're just not in play. And when the guys blast it down there on number 2 and they cut the corner, they're going to have a flip wedge it. Now, if they're in the rough and they're at a poor angle to the hole location, yes. So it's situational. They're going to have a problem getting the ball close. If they're in the rough or they're in the fairway and they have a decent angle to the pin, they're going to be able to get the ball close enough over the course of, probably 12 to 14 short iron scoring chances that they're going to have on this golf course. So overall, I think that the guys are going, yes, if you miss a ton of fairways, it's not going to be to your advantage. But overall, the level of players that we're talking about that are here, that are going to be contending for the Wanamaker Trophy, they're going to hit more fairways than not. And when they do, they're going to be able to control spin, and they're going to be really, really close to their targets. I mean, they're going to hit a ton of shots, like inside 135 yards, and they're going to score on those shots. Now, the greens are huge, and they're in perfect shape. To go back to what I said in the opening is that no one's played this golf course. They've had very, very few rounds. If you can putt well, you are going to make putts here. And if you are not picking putters, I'm all for diversifying your card a little bit. But if one of the themes of your outright card is not putters, then you're kind of missing the boat here. And everyone's going to have challenges when it comes to the putting surfaces. You got to be a great approach putter or lag putter, however you want to refer to it. But these guys are going to be able to make a bunch of putts. And you can't hit every wedge to like 5 feet But anything inside of 20 feet, if you can make a ton of putts, you're going to have an extreme. That's going to be the number one advantage here. It was proven in 2018 when, and people are going to say, oh, it was soft or whatever. But yeah, but Keegan was still making 20 footers that week. Soft or hard doesn't matter. It does matter. I get it on approach, but over 62% of his strokes gained that week came on the greens. Like, there's that opportunity coming. The last time we used Bentgrass greens was Augusta National. You made putts there, you're going to play very well. Well, you're going to have a chance to make even way more putts here because this place deals with a lot of slope and not a lot of subtleties on the green. So, like, as long as you're below the hole or you're in a position where you can attack the hole with the putter, which coming in with a wedge, more often than not, you're going to make putts, and that is going to give you the edge that you want in trying to predict, the best possible head-to-head matchups or your placements and, of course, ultimately the winner.
Well, as many people know, I have pushed all my chips into the middle on this guy. His name is Scottie Scheffler, Keith.
Yeah.
And I felt like before I probably should have waited to talk to you and did a bit more. I mean, I felt like I did all the research on this, but this bomb and gouge type of mentality kind of left me. I thought that Scheffler was a cut above every other, be it Bryson, Rahm, Rory, because I didn't think that just overall distance would play such a big advantage. And maybe it's not a huge advantage where it separates them, but I felt like we even talked about your Henleys, your Fleetwoods, Siwoos, that these guys are going to be in the fairway. They're going to be able to control their spin. They're very good iron players. And Siwoo's not going to make any putts, but Henley might make some putts.
Sure.
But these guys are super live for a tournament like this. And I felt that Scheffler was the best version of that type of player. Now, his distance isn't Rory or Bryson, but he's not Brian Harmon at the same time. He's well above average in distance. He's one of the leaders in strokes gained off the tee this year, but that's his mix of accuracy and distance, which he, Cam Young, Matt Fitzpatrick to a lesser extent, are those guys at the top of the board. Fleetwood would be another one when we're thinking about overall odds. Do you think that this course is set up for Scottie Scheffler?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. The only doubt that comes to mind is that he's 144th on the PGA Tour this season in proximity to the hole. And when you start thinking about how you're going to attack this place, when you're measuring approach acumen, you want to think about it as proximity. 8,200 feet, square feet on average, the size of these greens. Just to give you an idea, if you watch Quail Hollow at all, those are 6,800. Those look massive. And when you're there on property, they look big. These greens are huge. And they have quadrants, they have sections, they have shelves. They're really, really unique. They're tons of fun to look at. It's going to be the most entertaining part of this whole PGA Championship is watching these guys kind of navigate the putts across these greens with all sorts of spines and little outcroppings and everything. It's going to be really, really fun aspect of all of this. But you're going to have a lot of proximity to the hole if you want to go after the Wanamaker. It's just that simple. And we need Scottie to have figured out during Quail Hollow week how to hit it closer to the pin. That's what gives me pause when it comes to Scottie Scheffler right now. It would give me pause just like with Rory and his blister. Rory seems to be bothered by his foot, and he's in very good form. Granted, the putter could be a little better like Cam Young's and Scottie's, but, the big three at the top, I'm kind of leaning in the direction of Young because these other two guys have these, like, little issues, and you have the best players in the world firing away, and there's a Matt Fitzpatrick or somebody like that, a Justin Thomas waiting in the wings that are also playing very, very good golf that could just jump up as well. And these guys are major champions too, so I'd love to see Scottie's proximity be a little bit better. Now, to go back to your point about the Henleys and the Morikawas of the world, I think that a third of the final top 10 will definitely have those positional guys because the golf course overall just isn't that long, Pat.
That makes sense to me. So the other guys you could throw into that bucket, I guess Fitzpatrick, Siwoo, Morikawa, Henley. Now, I mean, Adam Scott is still pretty long at this point, but just between his driving and his irons, that's someone you can go with. Alex Smalley, Akshay, all of a sudden, I think becomes somewhat compelling.
Yeah, and Fleetwood, don't forget him. Fleetwood put a lot of work on the range last week in Charlotte. He's had a couple like middling results lately, and then he kind of popped last week in Charlotte, and on Tuesday and Wednesday, he spent a ton of time doing drills on the range and like really, really working hard on his iron game, and it certainly paid off. So Fleetwood would be somebody. I mean, I saw him today, absolute stripe show on the range. It looked really, really nice. And he's a very good putter. So he'd be somebody in that group. A lot of questions about Colin. Why did he take last week off? I think Colin was trying to preserve his back. It's not a great fit for him at Quail Hollow. It doesn't surprise me that maybe he just wanted to go work on his game, get rested, and then come here, because he has a legitimate chance here to do something, because he can just kind of dick it around with his driver like he did at Augusta, and then he could just let his iron game take over. And, if he can get the putter going whatsoever, he definitely would be a threat like Henley. He would be, those three right there, Henley, Fleetwood, and Morikawa, would be near the top of my list for the guys, those like practitioners running around versus the bombers.
Well, I want to throw this up. This is from the Rabbit Hole, betsportsgolf.com/Mayo. You can get yourself a discount with that code Mayo. And if you sign up for the Rabbit Hole this week using code Mayo, you get put into a draw to get a free year of the Rabbit Hole. So no better time to get in at betsportsgolf.com/Mayo than right now. I just separated by the past 2 months. So essentially since Augusta National for Scheffler, all of a sudden his proximity starts to look a little bit better. Obviously, he's not great from 250 plus, but 50 to 100, 7th, 43rd from 100 to 150. And even to kind of put it in a little bit more than that, that if you take a look at what Byron had put out earlier this week about some of the different approach ranges and how it stacks up with either Quail Hollow or Valhalla, that inside 150-yard shots as approach shots, that, as to your point, 7 to 9 shots are going to come from inside 150 yards this week. So 40 to 50% versus 22% a year ago, 25% at Valhalla, 33% at Oak Hill, 35% at Southern Hills, 24% at Kiowa Island. I thought that was really interesting when we were going back and trying to figure this out, that all of a sudden, and that doesn't mean you need to be Bryson in order to hit the balls from this range, or Rory.
No.
Scheffler is going to have an awful lot of these shots as well. And the one that stuck out to me the most, that drives the ball well and hits these clubs well, Rory does that. Obviously, historically, Scheffler does do that, and he's starting to get that back a little bit more. But Brooks is awesome from that range.
No doubt. And Brooks, his ball striking's been very, very solid since he showed up at Torrey. It's been the putter, and Brooks has gone with a new putter. I talked to the guys from Golf WRX who take all the pictures of what's in the bag. And whenever there's a change, I either get a text or I get a conversation if I'm on site, and it's like, okay, who's changing what? And Brooks, like Xander, is in the middle of seriously testing different putters. And Brooks has gone to, I have to look at my notes here. It looks like he's going to use a Spider this week. Now, he's been a Cameron guy, but it looks like he's finally making the switch over to the Spider because people have had so much success with the Spider. And, Xander's going with another version of the Toulon, Odyssey putter that he's been using. And it looks like he's just having a new one built, but he had the new one in his bag today for the practice round, and he did not have two in his bag. And then Brooks has just had the Spider in his bag. He was testing a bunch of putters on Monday, but then come Tuesday, that was the only putter he had in the bag. If Brooks starts to putt anywhere near like level or +1, Brooks is super live from those yardages for sure. And to go back to Byron's point, when I was saying before, that's the average guys. Rory and Cam and the longer guys are going to be hitting flip wedges. They're going to be hitting like 80-yard pitches in. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the days, if the weather continues the way it does, that those guys almost drive the second green. Because once you come over that cross bunker, it kind of plays downhill toward the green. There's a number of places. Number 7, it's like a 431, but it's around a corner and it's a reverse cant fairway. When those guys hit that thing, that ball's going to take a huge bounce and it's going to go flying across the fairway. Probably be very difficult to hold that fairway, but then any pin that's on the right side of that green, they're going to be able to attack. They'll need some room in front of the, they're going to be hitting clubs that are so short into these holes, Pat. We're going to see the most interesting thing about all of this is that we're going to see guys that go off the front that have stupid numbers going out. They're going to be scoring, and then they're going to hit 15, and then they're going to hit a wall where it's like 15 is really hard. 16 is the last scoring chance. 17 and 18 are playing really, really hard. Everyone's talking about that on the range and around the practice areas. They're like, get a good score for 14 holes and then shoot even par the rest. Well, hopefully 1 under on 16, but basically even par the rest of the way, because those other 3 holes are so difficult. And then that's your round for the day. And, you want to kind of see it that way. Somebody that starts on the back the first 2 days and then they flip to the front, man, they can go deep in closing.
It's funny that we started to come back to this, because I remember having this entire discussion at Pinehurst, because Keimer ended up winning the last time. We had seen it before the last time when it was Rory versus Bryson, and we talked ourselves into these positional players like, oh, you don't want to get in the Wiregrass or you're going to be screwed. You got to keep it on the fairway, and then you just sort by driving distance like every other U.S. Open, and that's who ends up winning. And that's what you've been able to do essentially outside of Kiowa, honestly, at the PGA Championship over the past 10 years. Sort by driving distance and be like, oh, those are the guys near the top. I feel like we've talked ourselves, me especially, I've talked myself out of that strategy this year. And what are the chances that we look up? You said that you might have a handful of positional guys inside the top 10. But if you had to guess the top 5 on the leaderboard, do you think it'd be positional guys or bombers?
I would say 3.5 bombers. Like I said before, 7 of the 10 guys are going to be people that carry the ball over 305 off the tee, and that still includes Matt Fitzpatrick, that still includes Scottie. It's going to be, I stay away from the term bomb and gouge, right? Because they're not really gouging. Gouging to me is like trying to hit an 8-iron or 7-iron or 6-iron out of wing foot rough. The rough's not that bad, right? These guys are going to be, the people that are playing super aggressive off the tee are going to get rewarded. And if you're a Russell Henley and you can't play as aggressive as Cameron Young, well, then you're going to have a very, very elite level of proximity or a hotter putter than that guy, which is a possibility, because it's not like Russell's going to be hitting 5-iron when Cam's hitting flip wedges. Russell's going to be hitting 9-iron and Cam's going to be hitting, like a gap wedge. I mean, so it's close enough that the disparity is, again, hold on for the 3 par 3s. Those are the high leverage shots. Just make what is that, 3 over 4? Just make 12 pars there, right? Those 3 holes over 4 days, make 12 pars there. Then the rest of the way, go nuclear. The really only other challenging hole on the golf course is 15. Well, 15 and 18, I'll say. But other than that, these guys can really score at this place. What really threw me off, and they always know more than we do anyways, that Vegas set the over-under scoring line at 12.5. And maybe they were going with the original forecast, or maybe they're going with the new forecast of firm, and they think that people can't score. But I don't see it. I see this thing as more like 15, 16, especially if what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, where we're getting these rabbits like a Cam Young who gets the 1900. You only need one guy to beat that score in order to win that bet. To me, what I'm seeing out here and the way that these guys are attacking this golf course during the practice rounds, I think 15 and 16 is very much in play for the leaders.
I had 15 under as my pick to win. The other bet that I was talking about both on the Best Bet Show and wrote up in the newsletter that came out on Tuesday was you can get almost 3-1 on someone shooting 62. It feels like someone is going to shoot 62 one of these days, as long as the pins aren't in the most unfair positions. And Matt Fitzpatrick pointed out that on some of these greens, there's only 4 places you can put a pin.
I mean, I'm not sure on 11 if there's more than two areas they can put the pin. 11 is so severe. So across that little ridge there, 2, 7, 11, that's where the ridge really comes into play. Those greens are just absolute. They're going to be so entertaining, right? But 11 is so severe back to front. There's only now. Guess what though? Those guys are the widest part of that fairway is 300 yards off the tee. The guys are going to bomb it way down there. That hole has 20 bunkers, 15 of which aren't in play for 90% of the field. Just for Brian Campbell, and then drive by. And, they're going to get up there, they're going to flip a wedge on. Now, got to be able to control spin. Proximity plays a big part in all of that, but there's really only 2 pin positions on that green at the firmness that these putting surfaces are right now.
I never realized how much a bad mattress was wrecking my sleep until I switched to Helix, especially now that getting a full night's sleep simply can't happen with the baby around. I used to wake up in the middle of the night overheating, my back would be tight in the morning, and every time my wife moved, it felt like an earthquake on the other side of the bed. Not that she could be Typhoon's tag partner, but it was a rumble from the other side of the bed. Now, completely different. I'm sleeping throughout the night, when I can, when the baby's not waking me up, and when I do wake up, I feel rested, and honestly, my sleep tracking greatly improved. The best part with Helix is how easy they make it. You take these sleep quizzes, it matches you to the right mattress based on how you actually sleep, and it just shows up at your door. No wandering around a mattress store for 3 hours pretending to know what medium firm cooling support means. And there's a reason Helix is the most awarded mattress brand out there. Once you sleep on one, you get it. Take advantage of the Memorial Day sale, the best of the web, by going to helixsleep.com/mayo right now and get yourself 27% off your new mattress. Lately, I've been trying to make our outdoor space somewhere where we actually want to spend time, because for the longest time, it was just random plastic chairs, an old table, and my grill, which is actually quite nice, but no one wanted to go out there, so we barely used the patio. Then I went on Wayfair and found patio furniture that actually matched the look that I wanted. Well, what my wife wanted. Clean setup, comfortable seating, outdoor rug, proper lighting. Now, we're out there all the time. What I liked was how easy Wayfair made it to find the stuff that both fit my style and budget. The reviews helped a ton too. So, get prepped for patio season for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. One thing that we used to do was kind of walk through, you tell me about the conditions, we go to the rabbit hole,
Sure.
and we build something out. And that's what I want to do right now, just to give a different spin on what we've been talking about. So you talked about carry distance. I'm going to filter this by condition, because I don't think this is going to necessarily be, like, there are guys that just simply aren't going to hit driver here because they might not have to on certain holes. But when I'm looking at carry distance, I want to see 4 drivers. So I want to go into the actual filters, and we'll go driver heavy courses, just so we get a sense of we're not mixing in the other shots to go along with it. And we sort by carry distance for the year. Rory, Potgieter, Nikolai, Brennan, Rasmus Højgaard, Ludvig. You got Penge, who's coming off the WD, but he seems to be okay. Minwoo, Kitayama, who was 4th at Oak Hill, another Donald Ross design at the PGA Championship 3 years ago. Woodland, Cootie, Xander, Goddard, and you have a lot of guys that are just like well over it. Michael Kim said 280, but even if you take 290, like you're well into, like, Hovland is still 289. Shane Lowry is 289, and these guys are not known for their prodigious length off the tee. So if we put in carry distance as something that matters, and then we can throw in strokes gained off the tee as well, just to set it up that way. You said putting. What would you want to look at for putting, Keith, if we're going to start throwing stuff in?
I would want to look at lag putting or approach putting. You know, that first putt and then the proximity to the hole. That's gonna be a huge factor.
So let's go to putting ranges. So basically 25 foot plus, or even 3-putt avoidance.
I guess how does the rabbit hole look at, approach proximity and putting?
It's not necessarily approach proximity on these. It is, well, you both have your strokes gained from that area. So obviously, that can be skewed by if you make an 80-foot putt in your Alex Smalley or something like that. But most of the time, it generally does measure lag putting, because the closer you are to the hole, the higher strokes gain that you're going to be in that sense.
Yeah, so go to 25 plus in that category, and then how many of these guys make an inside 15 feet? We call it bonus putting, right? Like, how well are you converting of the putts that you should make from time to time, and then how well are you putting outside, outside 25, 30 feet? I mean, it's going to, there's going to be some times where guys are going to be on the wrong side of certain spines on these greens, and it's just going to be wild. And that's going to be the biggest test.
You know what we can do? We can actually, I forgot to click over to just actual putting. We do have 3-putt avoidance from over 25 feet, and we have approach putt length as well, if we want to do that.
Yeah, pick one of those two. Approach putt's probably the best.
All right, we'll go to approach putting, and we'll get rid of the 25 plus approach putting. The leaders in approach putting right now, if you're listening, you can't see it on the screen: Cantlay, Spieth, Thomas, Noren, Lowry, Fleetwood, Keegan, Horschel, Poston, Corey Connors, Kitayama, Colley. Alex Fitzpatrick fits a lot of these, which is really bizarre because he's not like a great putter, but apparently from really long distance he is. Same as Siwoo. Siwoo is a good lag putter. He just can't make putts from 4 feet.
Again, it's the combination of the two. Like, are you making your fair share of putts inside 15 feet, which is realistic, right? Or inside, you can even say inside 10 feet. And then, you're not making all of them, but are you making the ones that you should be making? And then, approach putt wise, are you just not 3-putting and wasting strokes? I mean, it's going to be, so why hasn't, Cantlay's been really good as of late. And that's why those numbers reflect that, because he's a great lag putter. Problem is, he's not making enough birdies, right? So, that's the comparison that you're looking at.
So the other two. So what I just threw up on the screen right now is the approach scoring opportunity. So we can take 5 feet, 10 feet, or 15 feet from any of these buckets over the past 5 months of what we want to see. Would you want to throw in inside 10 feet from 50 to 100 and 15 feet from 100 to 150?
100%. Go for that. Yeah.
So we'll go inside 10, close. Inside, that's not 10, that's N, 10 close. We'll throw that in. And then we'll go inside 15 feet, 100 to 150. And we'll just look at these 6 things. So we have carry distance, we have strokes gained off the tee, generally speaking, and we're going to get rid of that 25-foot putt lag putting. So, do we just weight these all 15%, call them all equal? Do we weight one thing more than another?
Let's just do them all even.
All right, so we'll go 15 across the board and figure out the rest after. We might have to juice something up here, but yeah, we need to allocate 10 more. So we'll call the approach inside 15 feet from 100 to 150, 20, and we'll put carry distance at 20 because that kept coming up. So we'll call this Mayo Keith Show. If you want to find this, you can find this under Expert Report on the rabbit hole, betspertsgolf.com/Mayo to get that discount, get in the draw for the free year. And here's who it gets. Oh my God, Ludvig's number 1. That's not good.
I haven't seen the list pop up yet on the
there you go.
Oh, there
Ludvig, Rory, Fowler, Michael Brennan. Sam Burns was someone I wanted to talk to you about because
we can talk about Sam Burns all you want. I love Sam Burns here. So I love it.
When you started describing this type of player, I was like, oh, a bomber who can putt and pretty decent from in close. I mean, he's not super decent from in close. He's just above field average, actually losing strokes on the overall tour. But everything else, Bobby Mack would be another one who kind of mashes it and putts. Sam Burns is another one who does that if they can just get their wedges going a little bit, all of a sudden they're wildly in play.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like Young at the top and why, if you're looking for a little bit of value, I love Sam Burns. Sam Burns is now 29 years old, and it seems like over the last 2 years, he's starting to figure out how to play in these bigger events. And when the course suits him, like it did at Oakmont last year, or this course suits him as a drive wedge putter fest, then next thing you know, you're like, okay, if we go to a place where you're going to have to start hitting a lot of 200-yard approach shots, then no, I'm not going to be favoring Sam Burns. But at a place like Sawgrass where Sam he's aggressive driver, right? He certainly get his wedges close that he could putt. 13th at Sawgrass. It was impressive that he played so well at Augusta, finishing 7th there, 7th at Oakmont last year. That's 3 of the last 4 big name events. And Sam Burns has been a part of it all. And people can say, hey, Keith, Sam Burns isn't winning anything. Well, guess what? He had a pretty good chance to win at Oakmont if he didn't get screwed by NBC, right? And they put those guys back out there because they had to finish TV. The fact of the matter is I think he's getting a little older. He's in the prime of his career. I think he might contend in some of these things. And I'm telling you, these greens are ridiculous in places. I want guys that can putt pure Bentgrass, the purest of pure. Forget that you call it Bentgrass. I want guys that can putt pure surfaces. These things are untouched, man. They are so perfect. If you can putt and you're good at putting, and again, good putters can also do what? They can read greens well. So a lot of guys are rookies at this place, or they don't remember 2018. So they're all coming here for the first time, and they're all good putters. They control their speed, and they can read greens. I need those 2 skills this week because this is the hardest challenge of this place. Sam Burns is going to get up on every tee and bang driver away, and then he's going to figure it out from there. And I'm all for that mentality this week. If you're thinking about where you're putting the ball off the tee on every hole, then by all means, I think you're at somewhat of a disadvantage against these other guys.
I won't have my first round leaders out until Wednesday afternoon because I have not made them yet. But Sam Burns feels very first round leadery here.
Oh, yeah, especially the way he played on Sunday down at Quail. Played very, very nicely.
Okay, so did Niemann on Live. Maybe it's Niemann's time. Guys won on Bent before, too, at the Greenbrier.
Niemann. Okay. Let's talk about something else. Patrick Reed, a lot of people were asking me about him. Hasn't played since the Masters. He's been at home, banging balls, silly. He's been here, spent 3 days here, either last week or the week before. I think I was told last week. So he's been on property. He's figuring things out. as far as, how to play the golf course, but he is a very nice fit for one of those guys like a Fleetwood or whatever. It reads sneaky long, probably like a Scottie long, but very, very good wedge player and very accomplished putter. And the type of guy that, has a little chip on his shoulder right now. And I think is the type of guy, I think somebody like Patrick Reed thinks so highly of himself that he's like, man, I want to make this President's Cup team just off of these 4 majors, like that sort of thing. And you can see him pushing here, and you can see it being very successful. I think it's a good course fit. But to those that were wondering, like, if he's in good form, I watched him hit balls today. He was doing a nice little drill where he tucks a glove under his right arm, and he just had the ball on a string with his irons. Looked really, really smooth.
Who else have you seen, either good or bad, in the player notes that you have from walking the grounds?
So JT looks like he's in just as good a form as he was last week. And quite honestly, since he's returned from surgery, his ball striking has gotten like progressively better, but the putter has just been kind of like really inconsistent. And he looked like he had like a new lease on life last week with the new flat stick that he was using. So that's somebody that has proven he knows how to play PGA Championships. And when it comes to comps, you have a lot of people yelling about, different Donald Ross tracks and everything. I think one of the things, quick PSA about Donald Ross tracks just in general, if you think about it, he was in the golden age of architects. So now you're back there in the 1920s. Just call it 1925 on average, right? And everyone talks about, the prolifery of courses that he did, like 300 plus. Do you think really that Donald Ross traveled around to 300 different golf courses and went on site and designed these places and shaped them and did all of that? The answer to that is unequivocally no, right? So he had a bunch of different assistants. And this is why, other than some of the themes like false fronts and the bunkering and the cross bunkering that you see at all the different Ross courses, they always have like little different nuances to them. Now, there are some similarities between all of them. There are some similarities between Oak Hill and here and some of the other ones. But like, if you're just filtering for Donald Ross courses, you're making a mistake, right? You'd be better off filtering for Gil Hanse courses and his restoration courses like TCC or like Southern Hills. I think the reason for this endless diatribe is that I think Southern Hills is a really good comp this week. And that's one of the reasons why I love JT. And that's one of the reasons why I love Cam Young. They kind of figured out how to play that golf course. And I think that there are a lot of similarities between the skill set that you needed there and the skill set that you're going to see here. And it also, if you remember, like that was the tournament where it got really, really cold in the middle. It was hot and then it got really cold and it forced Tiger to withdraw because his body was in such bad shape. So you're going to see the variance in weather, and you're also going to see the type of skill set that's required. So rather than just filtering totally for Donald Ross golf courses where there seems to be a lot of variety for one guy to do it, I would look at some of these other places and then, kind of look at bits and pieces of what we've been talking about.
So when it was at Southern Hills, this is terrible news for my Scheffler bet, by the way, because he missed the cut. I think it was the last time that he missed a cut in a major. Thomas wins. He wins at -5, though. Does that stick out to you as we expect scoring to be almost 10 strokes easier at this course than it was at Southern Hills, that maybe it starts allowing for, because I mean, this is a very positional type of leaderboard. Yes, you have Thomas. Yes, you have Zalatoris, and Cam Young was not necessarily bombing and gouging, but Fleetwood, Kirk, Fitz, Seamus Power, Tom Hoagie, who just got into the field, by the way, when Jake Knapp WD'd, Cam Smith, Lucas Herbert, Tyrrell Hatton, Justin Rose. Like, are these the names that you would expect here this week? Like, when you say the comp, I get that because you like Justin Thomas. What about these other guys outside of Thomas and Cam Young?
I think that there's a similar type of mix there. The biggest difference is that this place is a little more driver heady, and it's, it will allow the bombers to have a little bit more free reign. Southern Hills was a little bit more positional, but what I'm talking more about is in and around the green complexes, the skill set that was needed there. And, a lot of what you see there kind of matches up in my mind with what I think we're going to see here.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about the green complexes and what we can expect around the greens? Only of, let's say, there's false fronts, as you mentioned, there's shaved off runoff areas, but it seems like nothing's going to stick in those runoff areas. It's going to filter into the rough.
Sure. I think if you want to, probably the biggest comp between this and Oak Hill is that for the most part, I would say 80% of your around the green, saving par shots are going to come from some form of long grass. Now, again, what I was talking about earlier is that because the rough growth was kind of stunted, it's going to be a little bit of a roulette. It's going to be a little bit of lucky, like it sometimes you're going to roll off into an area where you'll be able to hit a good pitch shot. Sometimes it's going to be like a chunk and run. And, some guys are luckier than others when it comes to that stuff. But that's what I expect to see to answer that question.
That's always a big Brooks thing, that Brooks is very good out of those types of lies versus, even what we talked about at Sawgrass a lot of the time, that you just don't see a lot of like built up rough where you need to really hack it out of. Ditto with Augusta National, that when you get to places like this, players like Matt Fitzpatrick is another one who's really excelled in those sort of chipping conditions versus just scraping it off of turf.
Absolutely. And if you remember back to Southern Hills, a lot of those green runoffs popped that ball into the longer grass. It was probably more like 2/3, 1/3. 1/3 being the shorter grass there at Southern Hills, but for me, probably the better comp is Oak Hill. You're probably going to get 80% of the shots around the greens are going to come from the longer grass.
Now, around the green is not a very sticky stat, because if you end up chipping in, it really skews what your metrics are going to be. But just looking back at Oak Hill and the leaders from around the green at that PGA Championship 3 years ago, you got Hideki was third, Brooks was fourth, Day was fifth, Min Woo, Davis Thompson, Alex Noren, who's on like a generationally bad chipping spree right now over the past 5 weeks. I do not know what has happened to him around the greens after being essentially elite for most of his career. It's been a bad run for him. Fitzpatrick, Scheffler, Finau, Hovland, out of all people. And we've seen this happen time over time, that when you get away from the short grass and into longer rough, all of a sudden Hovland can chip.
Well, on that list, the two guys that I would say are the long grass chippers are Hovland and Brooks. The other guys, they're all like world-class short game players. And they obviously have given themselves an advantage from long grass or short grass. It does sometimes tend to elevate a player if they're all chunking and running it to 8 feet, and then who makes the most 8-footers. Again, then now leaning more on what I really feel is the number one emphasis this week, which will be the putter.
Any other play, but how do you predict a putter in that way? Because that putting is. Listen, Cam Young was one of the best putters on tour until Sunday at Quail.
I mean, I think you have to go with like the trend is your friend, and I'm not trying to just. Cam Young, he'd gained strokes putting in like 13 of his last 15 events. So to me, I feel good about that. You get something in your head during a round and you can't reset, you're going to miss some putts. It happens. You got thrown off a little bit. We've seen it happen to players at all different levels. I just don't think there's any stickiness to that. Plus, he's coming back and he's getting on the agronomy that he grew up on up here in the Northeast. So all of a sudden now he's going to see a grass. He's going to feel the rough texture. He's going to feel the ball in the fairway. That's going to be very, very similar to what he grew up on and what he is most comfortable and confident on in his life. Another reason why I think it's kind of an opportunity there. And then, I know you love to have these conversations, but if Scottie's at 4 and Cam's at 16, and we feel like they're kind of equal right now for the way they've played here in 2026, not overall in their career, but how they've played recently, then, you've talked me always into going with the value. And I think that there's some value there.
Keith, I never win. Don't listen to me.
I only come in second. Runner-up again last week on the LPGA. I'm on like a historic run of runner-ups. It's absolutely tragic. I don't even know what to do anymore. It's like, but you know what? We'll keep trying. And I'm here. And let me look at my notes real quick.
I'll just throw out that if you're in Canada outside of Ontario, you hit the description, you go to coolbet.com. You should just go there anyway, because there's a bunch of head-to-head pools that are going on that you can get into. And there's like giveaways for betting on golf or a dream golf vacation to Cabot, which is by me. Hell, you might even meet me. Maybe I'll tag along with you to try to get in on that free trip if you go do that. But under the PME exclusive boost section, you will find Scottie Scheffler at 6-1 this week, Keith, which I believe is the best number in the world.
That could be the best number in the world, other than some of these cockamamie like prediction markets that come up with these numbers. I don't even know how they do it, but 6-1 from a legitimate book is definitely something why that would sway my attention very significantly, because if we're talking about the favorite, I think the big three are very close. If we're talking about the best player in the world, that's Scottie Scheffler. He hasn't finished worse than 24th this year, and he's 144th in proximity. How good is this guy? He is great. He like we don't have I don't have the superlatives to say how good Scottie Scheffler is at golf. If he pops with any sort of iron play this week, I mean, he definitely wins the event. There's nothing that anyone else can do about it. We just hope that doesn't happen. I hope the blister on Rory's foot stays in place and it keeps bothering him. And, my pick and my backing of Cam Young works out, or somebody further down the board, like a Sam Burns, who I think is super live here.
Looking at since the Players Championship and onwards, because I mean, what you did at Amex and whatever, what happened with Scheffler was he was losing more than a stroke per round. That's 4 strokes per tournament. It's not like dude was missing cuts on approach versus what he had been at each of the past 2.5 years when he went on his generational run. Since he is back within 0.2 strokes per round of where he was at last year, and there are only 6 players currently gaining more strokes on approach than Scottie Scheffler since the Players Championship. And as we know, he didn't have the best Players Championship. This is mainly just Augusta, 2 weeks ago at Doral, and the Heritage. And he's lost strokes once over those 12 rounds since the Masters. Essentially, whatever happened to him in round 3 at the Masters, it flicked the switch. And he's top 15 in putting. He is top 10 in approach over that time. It feels to me like he's almost all the way back. And the books are giving you a bit of, I don't want to say value, because basically no one on the outright board is going to be value, but versus what he has been, especially at major championships over the past 2 years, at a course where I feel like he has a very legitimate chance at winning.
Yep.
It just feels like a very big number for him. That's why, and because of the way that I'm positioned with my futures. Like I have Rose at 80, I have Rose at 80, Fitzpatrick at 80, and Robert McIntyre at 110 to 1. With those 3 already from December, I felt like I wanted to take a shot at the top of the board. I never get to bet Scottie. This felt like a good time to do it. And if Fitzpatrick wants to beat Scottie by 1, I'm okay with it.
Honestly, if I had Fitzpatrick at 80, I would probably do what you're doing. It makes perfect sense. It really does. There's nothing I could say about this golf course or the conditions or everything that I'm seeing here that would, and people think it's funny. 25 years ago, I got to see Butch and Tiger do their work on the range. And it literally was at times like flipping a switch. And they flipped the switch before he went on that historic run on 2000. And then Tiger just kind of locked in that thought in his brain, and he was able to keep the club above plane. And then he knew where his misses were going to be. And then he could just constantly hit shots that he knew where they were going to end up. And then he putted lights out for about 18 months. And, it doesn't surprise me at all if Scottie sits in the press room and he goes, yeah, something happened on the range with Randy, or during that 3rd round, it finally clicked what we were working on since January, and I'm off and running. And that actually happens. It happens all the time with great players because it's like splitting hairs all the time, like the adjustments that you're doing. It's like trying to take the world record runner in the mile and saying, hey, let's get a second faster. That's not going to happen. Like you have to start with like 1,000th of a second. And like those are the incremental growth points that Scottie's going through when you're that good. And, over a 3 or 4 month period, if all of a sudden then it kind of clicks what they had been working on, that's the way those guys make changes. The average golfer, they always see the game through their own lens and they're like, wow, I could never just suddenly play better. Right. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense. And the opportunity's there. I mean, him finishing second in all those tournaments. I mean, what Cam Young did at Doral was like kind of historic victory there, to go there and win by 6. Scottie put himself in position to win there. And he's playing good enough to do that. I'm going with the Hanse agronomy, and that just the run that Cam Young has been on and the level of confidence that he exudes. He and his dad feel like they're in a really, really good spot. He's enjoying his caddy. And this is the moment where, this championship makes a lot of sense for me about him. But like, still, again, if Scottie's like 50th this week in proximity, he wins. He's just that much better than everyone else at the rest of the game.
You mentioned putting. So if we go back 5 months and we take a look at the best putters on tour this year, if I was to quiz you of the top 10 putters of the past 5 months and strokes gained per round,
okay,
who do you think that those 10 players would be?
Well, Bridgman would probably be up near the top.
He is number 1.
Okay. Cam would be one of them.
Cam is not inside the top 10.
He's not inside the top 10.
He is he is 31st because he lost 6 strokes in 1 round the other day. That really hammers you a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I haven't looked at this in probably 2 weeks. Geez, you're making me go back here. Very, very good. Well, Burns has got to be up there.
Burns is number 3.
Okay, I've got 1 and 3. I need to get number. Give me a hint on 2.
He doesn't look like the rest of them.
Thigala.
Yeah, it's Akshay.
Okay. Oh yeah. All right.
So Akshay's 2. Bobby Mack is number 4. Fowler.
Yep.
And this is what I wanted to get to. Fowler is number 5. For reference, Scottie is 10th on this list in putting over the past 5 months. You have English, Bez, Michael Kim, McNeely, Harris English in there as well. But Ricky, when it comes to distance, putting, and these wedges, we saw it when those power rankings came out that he's 3rd in our power rankings of just looking at those things. What is the buzz with Ricky around the grounds right now?
Ricky feels good, man. He has like that Cam vibe going on. That was the first time he had gotten himself in like really in the fray in a big event. And we saw what happened at 16 when he missed that putt. But I think he walked away with a ton of confidence. And we would all say, like, when Ricky was in his prime, that if he was going to pick off a major, it probably was going to be something like a PGA. And for him to be playing well right now, and it's not a super long golf course. And again, with the way that he's striking the golf ball and he has the putter back like he did earlier in his career, he's a very, very strong placement bet for a top 10 or a top 20. I mean, I think that that's a super cashing ticket. To actually win, because it's been a long time for him. I know he won the Rocket, but like at the end of the day, this is a different heightened level of pressure. I think last week was probably really good for him. So people are talking about Ricky, man, because Ricky still moves the needle. He's like Jordan and JT. People love to talk about those guys. And you and I always love to discuss like who's the next of those 3 types of guys, like that's under 25 from the US and we don't have any options. Akshay maybe being one of them. Like people were fired up about Ricky on Sunday. He really was like pumped off the crowd, and a lot of the crowd here saw that, and they're here trying to give him a lift. I can't be more descriptive about this, right? The front 9 is like over hill and dale. When you go deep into the back 9, you go into this bowl that this natural bowl that the property has created. And then they built this amphitheater around it with all of these hospitality tents. It's going to get very claustrophobic and very loud down those last 4 holes. It's going to be super, super fun to be on property. It's going to be super fun to watch if it's close. And, so I hope Scottie's proximity isn't that great, but it's going to be good. And Ricky, having gone through that just last week in Charlotte, where there was a pretty decent crowd, somewhat loud, I think will help him.
We're not going to be doing this show in 2 weeks, Keith. Did you know that?
In 2 weeks for Colonial?
For Colonial. I'm going to be away. I'm going on a golf trip. I'm going to Utah. I'm playing the Black Desert. We're going to stop at Wolf Creek along the way. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going with 7 of my buddies. And you got me onto the Wolfhammer app, and I've been using it like round to round, like with my friends at my club recently. Yep. I cannot express how great this has been for, listen, tracking our scores, seeing who wins is great. Just the amount of shit talking I can do through the app. It's simply like we had a text thread before, but it had other people who aren't necessarily the people that we're playing with all the time. I just love that I was able to group everything off. I was able to play the games that I wanted to play and like send video smack messages. Just it tickles me to no end.
Well, one of the funny things is that in the last time we talked about this at the Masters, we were saying like nobody likes to be the score guy, right? So a couple of weeks ago, men's opening day, right? Everybody's out there playing. I got a bunch of guys on the app. I said, just get one guy in every group, and then you can kind of keep track of who has what score while you're out there. You don't have to worry about the Golf Pro or anything and everybody was doing it. But then the guys were just like they were normally when they're watching a PGA Tour tournament. They're going to PGA.com leaderboard like every 6 seconds. They're just like, they're sitting there like one of Pavlov's rats, just like hitting the bar. I want more candy. Like they were like, Keith, I need the app too because I want to see the score. Like so, I take back what I said last time. Get everybody on the app. Like everybody's got to download this thing because you could talk trash and everything, and maybe you don't get to play, and you can yell at your buddies and send them a video to that there are 3 groups behind you and press them or something like that. But the fact of the matter is that we all love keeping score and we all love knowing where we stand. And you can play any game on this thing. It was really interesting to me. The live feedback I got from my buddies at the club in opening day was that I need to download this thing too because I want to see the score like every single hole.
That's where I told a few of the guys that I played with on men's night, not the guys that were in my group. Like, we're playing our regular men's night, you're closest to the pin, all that crap. See who ends up winning. But I wanted to play like an individual game with like 3 other dudes that just weren't in my group. And this is a way that we were able to keep track of what we were doing the entire time. So I highly recommend it to everyone. You can get it down in the description right now, or just search the Wolf Hammer app on iOS or the Android store. And you can use PGA Champ 2 months for a code and dip your toe into the water, get yourself a discount, be able to use it out, try it out. I guarantee that you're going to love it. Starting something new is terrifying. Trust me, when I launched the Pat Mayo experience, there was a whole lot of, what if nobody listens? But I didn't care about that because it's me and I have the utmost confidence, probably incorrectly, about myself most of the time. Sometimes you just got to take the shot. And if you're starting a business online now, Shopify makes it way easier than it was back then. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses worldwide, and they give you everything in one place: website templates, payment processing, inventory management, marketing tools, hell, even AI features that'll help write product descriptions and improve your product photos. Plus, that iconic Shop Pay button that has the best converting checkout on the planet. So fewer abandoned carts and more sales. Turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/PatMayo. That's shopify.com/PatMayo. With the warm months approaching, I'd rather spend my time planning a vacation than stressing about whether I can afford to do it or not. So I've been getting my finances organized now instead of waiting until the damage is done. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, savings, goals, and spending. Get your first year of Monarch Core for half off, just $50 with promo code PatMayo. What I like about Monarch is it catches stuff before it becomes a problem. The AI recap flagged a spending spike for me, and the cash flow tool showed exactly where my money was disappearing every single month. Now, should I have known that when I was spending the money? Probably, but hey, when you're spending money, sometimes you forget things. Use code PATMAYO at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PATMAYO. I've been trying to simplify my wardrobe just a bit, especially when it comes to what I wear every single day. I want clothes that are comfortable, easy to throw on, but since it's me, I still need to look sharp enough to be like, hey, that looks good. Because I need the approval of other people, as I know a lot of people do. That's why I've been wearing a lot more Quince lately. Their spring lineup is loaded with staples, linen shirts and shorts starting at just $34, soft cotton tees and pants that somehow feel relaxed, while still looking polished. And the best part? Quince cuts out the middleman, so you're getting premium materials for 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Refresh your every day with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/mayo for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/mayo for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/mayo. Underdogs expanding the game. You already know their player picks. Pick higher or lower on player stats. Today, Underdog prediction markets are live in 25 states. Back your squad with spreads, handicap for closer game, or totals, higher, lower combined score, combined with player picks for bigger payouts. New customers play $5 on fantasy, get $75 in fantasy bonus entries. Code Mayo. Team picks, player picks, all on Underdog. Let's do some bets first, because I want to expand a little bit. As I mentioned before, that we're going to have most of this out we'll have all of it out actually in the cheat sheet form. But I did want to run through betting Scheffler 6-1, 5.5-1 in some other places, depending on where you can get your money down. And there's also a ton of boosts this week for major championships. So check that out. So Scottie Scheffler to win. That is my bet. Unfortunately, I've already used him in one and done, so we'll talk about that in a second. I got Fitzpatrick, Rose, and Bobby Mack all on futures. I still kind of like Bobby Mack. Sam Burns, if I can find the right number, I might get it on with some placements or a top 5, maybe first-round leader. All the first-round leaders are going to be in there. But I have 2 other bets that I wanted to run by you before we get to the giant make the cut parlay. One, I bet Sepp Straka minus 225 as low Austrian, which is essentially a head-to-head with Bernd Wiesberger.
I mean, put 10K on that thing. Come on, are we kidding me right now? How is Bernd Wiesberger walking through that door? That's not happening.
He did win. He did win like a month ago on the DP World Tour.
Man, I mean,
it felt good though. It felt like it should have been higher. Maybe it's moved since I've made that bet. I don't know. Maybe they were like, there's this one guy and he's telling people to bet in this one market that all of a sudden it got steamed. I don't know. The other one I bet was Hideki minus 105 as low Japanese player. It's him, Hitsatsuni, and two guys no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. You know, I had the hotel bet on Hideki last week, and it was extremely disappointing. I think he was DFL. If not, he was there. He was in the zip code, and he just didn't seem to have anything going. So that's usually the perfect time to bet Hideki when you completely have no faith that he's going to pop. Historically, that's like, you know, when Hideki goes nuclear. What concerns me about this place is his separating skill, his short game, and long iron play. It has been kind of this season, so I'm not sure that plays to his strengths. But just to beat Ryo Hisatsune, I like it.
Well, too, I mean, you mentioned about those par threes. He is the best player in those proximity ranges from the par threes.
The par threes are going to make a difference. You know, especially 17 coming down the stretch. That is a super high leverage shot right there. You're talking 225 and, you know, water left. It's not necessarily in play because, well, it is if you hit a really bad shot, but the green kind of cants away from the water. But with all, yeah, if you had a one-shot lead and you had to hit that tee shot, I would rather have Hideki's record right now on those par threes than somebody who doesn't.
Well, I'll have this listed out for everyone in the newsletter, but the official to make the cut parlay of the PGA Championship this year. Now it's 156 players, Keith, but top 70 in ties. You got your brethren, 20 PGA professionals in there. Yep. And how many do you think of those guys are going to make the cut? One, maybe two, maybe
I think one. I think the local kid, Braden Shattuck, real big guy, power player. He played really well at Oak Hill. And he's local, so I'm sure he has a ton of course experience, which would be very helpful in something like this. So I think he would maybe be the one to do it. Maybe Tyler Collette from South Florida. I'd say 1.5 pros make the cut.
So let's say 18. We'll cross 18 guys out of that 156.
Yep.
You have some old dudes and some guys that just aren't very good who are definitely not going to make the cut. So let's say there's 35 of those guys. Let's say 30 of those guys miss the cut. So essentially crop 50 guys out of this field right away. Sure. At top 70 in ties, like you have like a 70 out of 110 chance of making the cut. And we know that there's a bit of overlap as well. Some of the big names are going to blow up. It happens. Although Blickel pointed out, because he played the Pennsylvania Open here, that you're just not going to make a lot of big numbers at this course. You could get bogeyed to death, but you're not going to get triple bogeyed to death here.
Yeah. Again, that's the reason the guys can play aggressive. You're just not going to hit penalty shots off the tee like you would at something like Doral or TPC Sawgrass. So it behooves you to play super aggressive here. I use this term all the time, par and a half. Donald Ross was very great, was very, very good at creating golf courses that make you play par and a half. It's very hard to make par for the average golfer. It's very easy to make bogey because there just aren't, you hit it in a trap on approach, you pop it on the green, you two putt, you made bogey, right? But you hit an approach shot from 140 yards and you didn't hit the green as an average golfer, then again, it's hard to make par, but it's easy to make bogey. And that's exactly what you see here. And Bickle's spot on in his assessment of it.
So on Underdog, you can play to make and to miss the cut. So that's one thing that you can get yourself into. The one that I have right now on Underdog, it pays 3.5 to 1. You can tail it if you just click on the newsletter link. Alex Fitzpatrick, Matt McCarty, Alex Noren, all to make the cut. Just over 3 to 1. You can use some boost to get it up there as well. But the big one, the 90 to 1, 10 player to make the cut parlay. Daniel Berger, Sam Stevens, Aaron Rye, Corey Connors, Matt McCarty, Jacob Bridgman, Alex Fitzpatrick, Alex Noren, Seb Straka, and Gary Woodland. Put all those guys together, 90 to 1, a wager of $125 returns you $11,375.
I mean, spend the money now. All those names, how good they play.
Yeah, how could they lose, right?
There's no way. There's no way. I'll go back to your earlier statement, Keith. I don't win.
Hey, I've hit 2 of these in the past 5 years. More than paid itself off.
Oh, I would think so. Yes.
But I like these sorts of at the Masters and at the PGA Championship in particular, just because I feel like the bottom ends of those fields
Sure.
are so weak that the field is not as large as maybe it seems.
Logically, it makes a lot of sense. It does for those particular tournaments. When you got the Jimmy Walkers at the bottom, another drive-by. When you got those guys at the bottom, past champions, and my colleagues, God bless them, they played great. Lifelong goal to make the PGA Championship, but maybe one of them makes the cut. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Did you ever try to qualify for this?
Oh, sure, yeah, every year. It's just, so what happens is the PGA of America, real quick, has 41 sections. Each section has a different population. I was in the New Jersey section or the New England section and the North Florida section during my career. And based upon the number of guys in the section is how many spots you get in the national championship. Was played out in Bandon Dunes a month ago. And then when you go there, that's the top 20 that make it. And that's the process to do it. Usually it's about 10% of the field of your section has to go. New Jersey section is an incredible playing section. We've had over the years, I think 3 different players win the national championship in the last 25 years, which is really, really strong.
One and done picks for the week. So let's get over to fantasygolfchampionships.com, see what I'm doing here. And you can see I'm in 7th place in the $1,000 one and done right now. I was the only guy ahead of me who didn't have Cam 2 weeks ago, so that kind of stung. I have Matt Fitzpatrick in right now as my pick. And as you can see, I'm pretty far back. I'm like $4 million back. So a win in this situation would be very good for me. But if we try to pick a player this week, as you can see, I am without Scottie. I am without Rory. I am without Cam. I am without Xander. I've used all those guys. I do have Rahm and Bryson available. And we did not speak really at all about Bryson, but we talked about bomb, gouge, and putting. That's kind of his game.
So Bryson seems like he's dealing with some injuries. The wrist is known. I'm hearing rumors about the shoulder. He's got a lot of off-course stuff still going on. So,
that's still going, is it?
I mean, nobody blocks out the noise like Bryson. He is incredible at that. It's super impressive, his ability to do that. But I'm just not backing Bryson this week. I know he's coming off back-to-back runner-ups, but I'm not backing Bryson this week.
So if you had Cam Young, obviously you'd use him. Let's say you didn't have Cam Young. Where would you want to go?
Based upon what I have left, I'm choosing between JT and Patrick Reed.
Really? So you've used Fitzpatrick, you've used Rory,
Yes.
you've used all these guys.
Yes, I've used them all.
And you don't want to use John Rahm?
I've used Rahm. I used Rahm.
How do you feel about Rahm this week?
I mean, nobody's got more to prove than Rahm. That's for sure. And, he was his usual self in the press center today. He looked so locked in at Augusta, and it just didn't work out. And it was his one bad tournament of the year. And now all of a sudden, we're back at it again. And I really think that iron sharpens iron. At the end of the day, I bet these live guys too many times, and they're not getting across the finish line. And I think it's super important that if you're Cam Young and you're consistently competing against Scottie Scheffler on much more difficult golf courses, you just have a better game. Then all of a sudden, when you're injected into a golf tournament where the conditions are perfect and the pressure is heightened, you're probably just not ready. And at the end of the day, I could get burned on that, but it's not like I'm losing 40-1 on John Rahm. So, it is what it is.
Would you consider Brooks?
Yes.
Would you consider, I guess you don't want live guys. I was going to say Hatton, Cantlay, Ricky. I think these guys are live for one and dones if you're looking to separate a little bit, because anyone who has Scheffler is going to use them. Anyone who has Cam Young is going to use them. If you have Rahm available, I think that Rahm is going to be very popular as well. And if Rory's out there, those are going to be your big four. Maybe Fitz falls in after that. But once you get past that big glut at the top, if you do want to separate, almost every year at the PGA Championship, people want Brooks, and it's not that he's coming below the radar. He's on the radar, but as you mentioned, the putter's been bad, but he switched putters.
There's 2 ways of looking at Brooks in my mind. Number one is that I don't know that I like him enough to be my one and done. I think Brooks is going to play well. I don't know that he's going to earn the money that you want for his value. I also know that Brooks needs to play in some events with some weaker fields, and he's going to be a much better player in those fields. So that might make more sense to me. In that glutton in the middle with who I had available, I did consider Cantley. I think Cantley will play well this week. Cantley's been very good. I talked to Jamie Mulligan, his coach, his longtime coach, and they're seeing, a lot of really, really good trends right now. And he's a great lag putter. On this style of golf course, the need to be somewhat well-rounded outside of long iron acumen, I think kind of suits him. And he's long enough to not be a positional guy, but he's not super long. So maybe on some of these dog legs that helps him keep it in the fairway where, Rory and Cam roll through. I'm not sure, but Cantley was definitely somebody I considered. I just feel like Reed and JT are in a little bit sharper form and kind of suit the golf course even maybe just a little bit better.
One thing that came out earlier in the week we haven't not discussed to this point, Cam Smith changed coaches. He went to Cloud Harriman. He's powered by Cloud now.
Cam Smith needs to change a couple of things. He hasn't been relevant in a major golf tournament in 2+ years, and which is a shame because, we've all bet Cam and won some money. I happened to do it at St. Andrews when he won there. And how electric was that back nine? How good was that up and down on 17? And, he was kind of like a modern day Spieth in some ways. So it's like, you wish you could get those types of guys contending more often because that's the ultimate entertainment in golf. It's fun to watch Scottie, not have him win by 5 at Quail Hollow, but it's fun to watch Scottie knock down flagstick after flagstick. But sometimes when they get in a little bit of trouble, over the years, the Phils, Jordans, and Cam Smiths of the world, they do bring some pure joy out of the audience.
Now, before we get to the question you have for me, I have a question for you. I want to brand this segment. We'll get to it for the branding part, but we need Keith's pro tip of the week. And I wanted to ask you about chipping from just off of the green with a little bit of fringe in between you and the green, because I've been out 3 times now, and this has been usually for me. I mean, it depends on how I'm feeling that day, chipping the ball that, I'll take out a 56. I'll play a bump and run depending on what I need to do, control the speed that way. If it's a bit firmer out and a bit, bit drier than it's been up here, that I will putt that ball a little bit. What do you find is the preferred shot there for an amateur? Like someone who's good like you has the ability to spin a 60 and get it close. I can't do that.
Is this short grass, closely mown, or is it long grass?
Short grass, closely mown.
Okay. So probably the biggest thing there is to try to get a consistent low point, meaning having the club, engage the grass, engage the turf the same way each time. So I would recommend that everybody uses the 3 lefts if you're a right-handed golfer. If you're a left-handed golfer, they'd be the 3 rights. But basically what happens is I would put the ball a little forward in my stance, so forward of center. I would put my hands forward so that they were even with my lead thigh, and then I would put my weight forward on my lead foot. And then from there, I would turn my rib cage and I would turn it through. And you'll find out that if you just do a couple practice swings like that, you're going to scalp the grass in the same low point each time. And then from there, depending on how far away the flag was, if the flag was really close, I would take the most loft I had in my bag. And I could make the same kind of swing set, bottoming out, grandfather clock, pendulum stroke feeling type, side to side. So that the amount I take it back is the same amount that I bring it through. And then if it was longer away, maybe I take a gap wedge or a pitching wedge and I roll it across the green. A good rule of thumb is that a 56 degree is about 50 flight for 50 roll. So 50% of it flying. So if it flies for 10 feet, it's probably going to roll for 10 feet. And then if you go higher in loft to 60, then it becomes 1/3, 2/3. If you go the other way to pitching wedge, it's probably 25% flight and 75% roll. If that was too quick for you, play it at half speed and take some notes.
I do 2 of those things, but I usually play the ball way back in my stance with the wedge when I'm chipping. I don't know what it is. My low point, just no matter how I swing, is just back there. Now, I obviously lose a ton of height. I get a little bit more roll, but I feel like I can control the ball much better that way. And I'm just more considered. Is it better to play it exactly how it should be played, or is it about finding where you strike it consistently?
I think under most circumstances, it is where you strike it consistently. The problem you're going to have there is you're not going to get any height. The average golfer also, the further you put the ball back, the more your weight is going to move towards your trail foot, your back foot. And then that is a mortal sin in short game. Anytime you're shifting your weight backwards is when you hit your skulls and your chunks and everything else. The full repertoire, the clown car pulls up and everyone's circling the green and just blowing horns and everything. And you're going mad in your head. So I think it's really important that if you can create a consistent kind of spot where the ball is all the time. And then I would just change the tool for the type of shot that you diagnose that you need. More loft or shorter shot, more loft, longer shot, put it on the ground. If you notice and watch this weekend, very rarely do guys chip in when like the ball flies, takes one hop and it chips in. They almost always use the ground. So it's like a putt. Try to get the ball on the ground as soon as you can in a short shot, and you have a better chance of getting it closer to the hole.
Now you have questions for me?
Oh, absolutely. Come on. We're in Philadelphia. Your favorite Philadelphia athlete of all time?
John LeClaire?
Oh, wow. The Flyer, huh?
Ron Hextall, maybe?
Vermont native. Okay, fair enough. I don't need more Flyers in my life. Do you listen to music on the golf course?
No.
Okay. Next question.
I mean, yes, I don't listen to I play with people who listen to music. If it's just me, I'm not listening to music.
What do you prefer then?
No music.
No, I mean, if they're playing music, what do you prefer?
Yeah, I don't care. I try to zone it out. Zone in and block it out.
Will Bryson top 10 this week?
No.
Name one thing that the PGA of America could do to dramatically elevate this championship.
Don't send me cease and desist letters about using your logo.
Wow. Okay. Which PGA championship do you remember the most? Probably that one.
Ever?
That's
interesting. What sticks out in I lost a lot of money when Walker beat Day, but that's probably not it. It's probably Kiowa with Phil, honestly.
I mean, in recent history, that was an unbelievable championship. I still go back to Valhalla. And a lot of that has to do with where I was living at the time and everything, but that was a pretty cool one for sure.
The Tiger at Valhalla?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tiger Bob May. Although the Rory in the dark one when he ran through Phil was pretty interesting too.
Was that the Tiger one with the point at the end with the playoff?
Oh yes, yeah, on 16. Yeah. Have you ever been to Philadelphia?
I have, yes.
More than once?
Well, if you can include airports, yes. But visiting the city, I only went there once. I visited the Campbell Soup Factory in North Philly when did the Rocky Steps. I was all over the place.
Nice. Oh, favorite Rocky movie?
4.
Ivan Drago. I'd go 3. Clubber Lang. Long shot, top 20 guy.
I mean, I don't know how long we can get here, but I think Alex Fitzpatrick is actually kind of good right now. I don't know if he can sustain this for any amount of time, but I think that people are once again kind of sleeping on him. If it's not him, kind of like either Matt McCarty and Tambo laughed at me when I brought his name. So did Blickle, but I think that Lucas Glover can win here. Not win, but come inside the top 20. He's won at a Ross course before, and as you said, they're all the same, right? Yep. I think that's what I got from that. He's won a major in the Northeast before, and he still hits his wedges great. He has no distance, which is troublesome, but he's putted well in this area of the country, despite not putting well anywhere else.
True. I mean, he's trending. He played really, really nicely last week. Quail hit the ball good. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your greenside bunker skill.
Oh, is 10 out of 10 a pro level or versus amateurs?
10 out of 10 would be like Luke Donald, best bunker player I ever saw live.
Okay, so then I'm probably a 4 out of 10 compared to actual professionals. Against amateurs that are around a 5 to 15 handicap, I'd probably say I'm an 8 out of 10. I'm pretty good at the bunker.
You're pretty good. I mean, a lot of people are making a big deal about these 180 bunkers, which I said earlier, 80% don't matter to these guys, but you're going to see some bunker shots this week, which will be fun. Describe Aronimink in one word.
Classic.
I would use the word stadium, but that's all I have for you, Pat. Take us away.
Readtheline.com is where you can find all of Keith's work. You can also subscribe to his free newsletter. There's also a paid version. If you dip your toe in, get a chance of it, oh, maybe I need some LPGA winners this week, then you need Keith at readtheline.com. He also has a YouTube channel, which you should most definitely check out. He's going to be on locale all week. So KJ Stewart PGA on X. If you have any questions for Keith, I'm sure he'll eventually get back to you once he's not actually covering the golf. And at me, at the PME, my newsletter comes out on Wednesday afternoon for the finalized cheat sheet, DraftKings ownership, final bets, make the cut parlay, weather report. It's all going to be in there. Throw us a like. Sub to the channel, and if you want to listen to it on audio, Apple, Spotify, it's all up there too. I will return after round 1 on Thursday with Cust and Jeff for a recap. Then we're going live again on Thursday night for the NFL schedule drop show. And of course, we're always doing the Cut Sweats live Friday afternoon for the back 9 of the afternoon wave. So if you're at work or you just fuck off early and you want to just chill with someone and you're watching it alone, tune in to the Cut Sweat right here on Mayo Media Network. All right? I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!